Hello there. Well, today I'm very excited because I have my new microphone, and unlike the one I had been using, which I'd had since 2008, had served such a long time. So here's a brand new one, and it's called The Beautiful Life. That's what this film is called. It's called Beautiful Life. So I want to share with you what's been going on. I've had so little opportunity to do so for such a long time, so I've had such a lot of issues with sound, and now everything's going to be just fine. So I'm here in a beautiful garden, and here people are making beautiful music in the building with a very special roof on the top. So I'm going to take you for a little journey. So it all begins with the last film I made, which was episode 1015, and I talked about 5D and I talked about 3D. Well, exactly 1 week later, so that was a week ago on Sunday, exactly 1 week later, 2 days ago, I was reading a book and I found myself cast into the abyss. I'll explain what I mean. So here I am in, you're going to find out in just a second. Yes, this is very central Glastonbury. Very central indeed. So I found myself reading this book, and it's called Untamed. And I even remember the name of the author. The name of the author is Glennon Doyle. So it's Glennon Doyle and it's called Untamed. And in this particular book, she tells you about something. The reader, you the reader, me the reader. And what she explains is she explains that when people try to leave Mexico and enter the United States, something happens to them. I didn't know the details, but apparently this is actually what happens. The government take the children from their parents and they kick the parents out. That's right, they want the children. Apparently the children of these migrants who want to enter the United States are such a valuable commodity that they, well, let's use the accurate word, they steal them from their parents, kick their parents out of the country and say, we've got your children, what are you going to do about it? So this provoked such a powerful reaction in me, and those of you who know my story will be unsurprised about that, I'm sure. Very unsurprised indeed. So it took me a while to work out what was going on. Sometimes these things do, and I thought, right, yeah, children, valuable commodity. Yeah, and I started to realise why this was going on, and indeed they disappear into the internment camps, and then I'm quite sure they disappear out of those internment camps to where it is that they are destined to go. So this provoked such an anger, such a rage, such a fury in me, and I knew what I had to do. And I realised I was very much in 3D. None of this sounds remotely 5D, does it? No, it's very 3D. So we're in Glastonbury. It's a very famous pub there called the George and Pilgrim. Very ancient. So this is it. I'm beside myself with anger, and I know what I need to do is I need to stay with it. So I do. So what I do is I rest in the awareness of this anger. And it's the anger about what is being done to children today. Now, while I'm making this film, while you're sitting in front of your screen watching it, and there are so many things that are being done to children, we do realise that, don't we? We do know that children, they get things stuck into their bodies without their actual consent. Someone makes a choice, but it isn't the children. Other things get done to children. They get exposed to sugar, which is one of the most addictive substances, at an incredibly young age, refined sugar, and become enslaved by that. And these days, of course, they get very early exposure to electromagnetic fields, particularly in the form of Wi-Fi coming through their devices. Most 2-year-olds have got their own iPad in the developed world, I'm sure you're aware of that. And children at a very young age, they get themselves mobile phones. And what Glennon was explaining in her book is that this has an incredible power to disconnect the child from their creativity. In fact, what happens is they don't ever get to know boredom, because boredom is the potential, it's the threshold, it could lead towards creativity. That's what boredom can do when you have it. But if you're never bored because you always got a device to look at, you're never going to experience that, are you? So quite something. So we've got that going on as well. So we've got children are basically assaulted from all sides at the moment. They're being subjected to a degree of mind control in schools, which I found absolutely terrifying, bearing in mind I was actually a school teacher. There always was mind control in schools, but it's gone up off the charts. So all this stuff going on with children, they're disappearing, they're being subjected to all sorts of highly addictive substances, behaviour patterns, they're subjected to mind control, and I'm absolutely furious. It's the only word I can use. I'm in a state of fury. That is the state that I'm in. So I rest in awareness, and I stay in that state throughout the day. And as time goes on, I'm still resting in awareness. I'm still aware of this. That's what I'm doing. I'm aware of this state. That's what's going on for me. Completely aware of it. Well, there does come a moment, much later in the day, when I get my first breakthrough, and I'm sitting outside in my garden, and I'm suddenly given the first few lines of a book. And I'm really rather surprised, because I've been angry all day, and suddenly this creativity has arisen. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, creativity. So I go upstairs and I start writing. Next thing I know, 4 pages later, I've got the beginnings of a book. So that has been the first really miraculous thing to happen to me. Resting in awareness with the anger, the rage and the fury. So this is Glastonbury, this is the Market Cross. This is one of the many centres of the town. So let me continue my little journey, because remember the title is Life's Beautiful Journey. It's a beautiful journey, and that really is how I feel. So the following morning, yesterday morning, I found myself in the place where this film began. And what happens is once a year, these 2 little dudes come over from India, maybe other people too, but I know about these 2 little dudes definitely, and they launch 48 hours of people chanting mantras. And the mantra they chant is the most famous, well-known one, which is the Hare Krishna mantra. So I was invited to attend this event, and it starts at 5 a.m. on Monday morning. So I thought, I'm going to be there for the start. So I turned up 10 minutes early, actually, 10 to 5, and it was already in full swing. So can't always get what you want, can you? That was brilliant. So I was exposed to the mantras in this place and enjoying very much what was going on, and something completely different, not the sort of thing I'd really done before. I do my own mantras, but this is quite different because it's all based upon mantras to Krishna. It's not something I'm actually particularly familiar with or very well versed in, but I just flowed with it. And what happened to me was a complete change in my consciousness. And at a particular point, I had an activation of a memory. And this is a memory of a conversation with someone who came to one of my retreats some years ago. And he was saying, I know someone who you would be interested to meet, because this is someone that you have a common interest with, to do with the children. And so, because it came up spontaneously in such an event, I thought I'd take notice of the fact. And I did get home about 7 in the morning, absolutely freezing and desperately hungry, having got up so incredibly early, totally to be expected. And what then happened is I contacted the guy in question. He got back to me, gave me the guy's phone number, and I've left a message, so we'll see what happens from here. So the thing is, it begins with me being very angry about what happens to migrants' children that enter a particular country through a particular border, and it ends up with 2 breakthroughs, because what I'm writing about relates to it, and this contact I've suddenly become aware of relates to it too. So I'm really pleased about that. So I guess the point of this story really is to explain that it is really so good to rest in awareness with whatever is going on. Whatever feeling comes up, feel it and feel it some more. And when you think, I can't feel any more of this feeling, just keep on feeling it and keep on feeling it, because that's when miracles happen. That's when magic happens. That's when unexpected developments produce all sorts of interesting results, I say. And you can see there's a camera on the pole to the left, and to the right there's St. John's Church Tower, which is another of the central points of Glastonbury, this wonderful town. So thank you ever so much for coming with me on this little journey today. And this is just the beginning. I've got a lot more that I've been waiting for months to say, and I will find the opportunities to do so as and when they arise. So thanks for listening as always. All the love to you, and I always appreciate your comments. Thank you very much indeed.